I look for certain kind of document which can help me in knowing more about documentary heritage in India. And despite of my best effort, I was not able to locate something which can give me a comprehensive idea what kind of archives India is having, how many archives, what kind of resources they contain, and all information concerning that. At that point of time, I discussed this with the UNESCO New Delhi office, and UNESCO New Delhi office agreed to my suggestion that we should do certain kind of survey to find out how many archives India is having, and also with complete details about their location and also the kind of collections and information they possesses. And that way, with the financial support of UNESCO New Delhi office, we started this research project, mapping of the archives in India. In 2019, the questionnaire was designed and it was sent to all over institution. On the basis of literature survey and data available on internet, I am able to locate about 600 such institutions which may have archives. So we have sent physical print survey as well as electronic e-format to all these institutions. And we have first questionnaire, then second reminder, third reminder, and then came COVID in 20, and despite of our best efforts, for next we were not able to get much response. So in this entire process, we sent questionnaire a lot, but response was only 90, which because questionnaire was of about 15 pages and it required very comprehensive information. So somehow this particular book contains a complete analysis of data of only 19 archives. However, if you go to the chapter 4 of the Directives of Archives in India, on the basis of internet and through telephone contacts or email contacts, be able to generate a directories of 424 archives of India. So you can have complete information, who is the director, archivist, or what is the email ID, phone number, location, and complete mailing address of these 424 archives of India. So this book in 4 parts. The first part, which is a complete profile of 90 archives, which gives you complete information about the kind of spatial collection, what are the facilities available, including guest house or other research facilities required for a researcher. And second chapter, which is based on that data of 90 archives, we have done some kind of analysis and that present status of conservation, preservation, digitization, and also cataloging and various kind of other facilities available in that. So if we see that data, it is not very encouraging on the status of archives in India. I will talk about in a few minutes. But before that, I would also like to mention about chapter 3, in which we have included information about 11 documentary heritage of India, which have been included in the UNESCO Memory of the World program. Basically, main aim of this project was to identify valuable resources which can be nominated to the UNESCO Memory of the World program. And so we have provided you information about 11, because as IGNCA is the nodal center for UNESCO Memory of the World program, and that is one of the mandate of IGNCA to prepare nomination dossier. In this nomination cycle, we have been preparing nomination dossier on various valuable manuscript like Bhagavad Gita and Ramcharitmanas and Panchatantra, etc. So to brief in, because we have, I want to listen more about our eminent guest, just few things which emerge out of this publication, which I see need to be discussed and need to be worked more. First thing is that most of these archives are headed by non-professional. There is a very severe lack of trained archivists in this country. To surprise to all of you, we don't have any archival science education in this country. except this certificate course from National Archive of India. None of the universities in this country is offering any graduation or post-graduation level course in archival science. So most of the archives are headed by temporary people, some additional charge or in charge, or it is a understanding that a person in history is sufficient to head an archive, which is totally untrue, because archivists need certain kind of expertise and qualification, which know about digitization, which know about conservation, which know about the catalog, which know about various kind of record management, which know about various kind of academic specialty in how to managing rare collection in what kind of environmental conditions. So there is a specific archival science education available all over the world. That was the first thing. Second was that I think somewhere people believe that digitization is just enough for keeping this in a long term, which is also a kind of like a problem, because when we talk about long term digital preservation, see, most of these archives possesses our legacy, our historical records, our manuscript, our all kind of valuable records. What will happen? All these material is in certain media, and this every media has certain life. You cannot preserve forever through conservation and restoration. One day it will definitely die, or because the time have certain lifespan for each and every media. So what is the solution? I think world over people are just converting it to digital and creating digital preservation program. So in this country, we don't have even a single digital preservation program to look into the needs of preserving this valuable legacy for long-term digital preservation. That's another area which very important. We need to look into that. So this book is going to put a lot of question. It is a kind of like a platform to work more on these areas. And as our Prime Minister in 15th August speech, he talks about Panch Pran, and one of the pran was we should be proud of our legacy, and legacy lies in these archives. So I think we have to live up to the expectation of our Honorable Prime Minister that we should be proud of our legacy, and we need to do something on this.
Honorable guest on stage to unveil the book Mapping of Archives of India by Professor Ramesh C. Gaur, जिसको इंदिरा गांधी राष्ट्रीय कला केंद्र और यूनेस्को ने पब्लिश किया है, और साथ ही डॉक्टर विस्मय बसु ने इस पुस्तक को आकार लेने में अपना सहयोग दिया है. तो एक बार ज़ोरदार तालियों से आज हम इस कार्यक्रम के लिए एकत्रित हुए हैं यहाँ इस पुस्तक के लोकार्पण के लिए. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सभी अतिथियों का. Now I would also request the honorable guest to launch the descriptive e-catalogue of Aagam Tantra Mantra Yantra खंड 3 भाग 1 से 5, जिसको जैसा कि अभी गौर सर ने बताया IGNCA ने पब्लिश किया है. आगम तंत्र मंत्र यंत्र खंड 3 भाग 1 से 5 तक.
Let me start by congratulating the IGNCA on the launch of these two very prestigious publications, e-catalogue of Aagam Tantra Mantra Yantra and Mapping of the Archives, a directory of archives in the country. Now, given the limitation of my knowledge about the Aagam Tantra Mantra Yantra, I'll confine my observations to the field of archives, which is where I work and which had been my profession. If we see the history of archives in this country, we have got a long history. In fact, IGNCA had been spearheading this national mission of manuscript. And if you see the old manuscripts, whether these are religious manuscripts or literature or whatever, in the colophon, invariably, there was an invocation for the preservation of records. And in a Sanskrit slok, we say, Jalad Rakshet, Sthalad Rakshet, Rakshet Mushakobhyo. मूषक भी विशेषता। सो जल से रक्षा करिए, स्थल से रक्षा करिए और विशेष तौर पे अग्नि से रक्षा करिए। और आगे कहते हैं कष्टेन लिखितम शास्त्रम पुत्रवत परिपालयेत, अपने बेटे जैसा इसका परिपालन करो। सो दैट वाज द सेंस ऑफ कंजर्वेशन विच वाज इन्वोक्ड while recording the thoughts and the wisdom by the ancient seers for the preservation of archives. The dispersal of the archives, which has been one of the objectives of this book, we have the religious institutions like various temples, khankas, madrasas, mutts, and so on. We have got educational institutions where you will find the archival wealth. And we have got a very long history of one of the best libraries in the world, like Nalanda in Takshila, for example. We have got various princely states, many of which who were the patrons of art and culture, and especially the written words in the form of manuscripts, books. Of course, we have got the national and the state archives. But nowadays, a new trend has developed where we have got the corporate archives. We have got the banks who are having their own archives. The judiciary, recently, the High Court of Orissa has established its own archives where they are preserving records, judicial records from the district court level onwards. Supreme Court archives is there. Then the legislative, Parliament archives is there. So we have got these institutional archives. Besides, we are having the various custodial institutions. For example, in Dhule in Maharashtra, there's a Rajwade Samshodhan Sansthan, which has got excellent archives on the Maratha history. Similarly, in Patna, K.P. Jaiswal Research Institute is having one of the best collections of the manuscripts and all. Natnagar Shod Sansthan in Sitamarhi in Madhya Pradesh is another such institution. So, I mean, unfortunately, all these three, the last three, have not been included in this directory for the reasons which have been spelled out by Professor Gaur. So, as you can see, that there has been a very sustained and very diligent effort in mapping the archives, but this is only a beginning, as we can see it. Apart from these, there are museums, there are libraries, there are private individuals who are having the archival collection. So, the need for survey and listing and documenting the dispersed archival wealth of the country was felt in an organized way, I would say. About 8 years back, in 1943, the Indian Historical Records Commission had passed a resolution to establish regional record survey committees to go from house to house, from place to place, and list all sorts of archival wealth in whatever form, whether these are individual documents, whether they are sale deeds, they are manuscripts, or whatever. And this survey was to be done at the all India level. Now, as the things would have it, not much headway was made immediately. And one of the reasons was that it was too ambitious a task, and given the resources, the country was not yet independent, and various other factors pitched in. So finally, this work was again reviewed in 1957. And its scope was curtailed. And it was said that, okay, we leave aside the institutional custodians of the archival wealth, and we concentrate only on the private individual and institutions. So finally, the survey was started in 1959. And you will be surprised that over the next 3 or 4 decades, the regional record survey committees, which surveyed and listed the documentary heritage, 23 volumes have been published. And all these volumes are now available at the click of a button on the Abhilekh Patel portal of the National Archives of India. And before coming to this hall, I was just trying to quantify that what sort of efforts it was made. The first volume was published in 1971, and the 23rd volume was published in 2006. It has got about 1,300 small or big collections and about 38,000 items, and one item would have several lakh documents. Like a Kapardwara collection of Jaipur was the family archives of the Maharaja of Jaipur. It has got a couple of lakhs documents. So we are talking of enormous heritage which we are at a risk of losing. And it is in this background that the work like the mapping of the archives of India acquires a renewed and a more vital significance. So as I can see it, this the work of the Regional Record Survey Committee would have been facilitated if a directory was available at that stage in time. On the part of the National Archives of India, we are endeavoring to launch a unified portal of diverse form of archival formats, whether they are in the form of the sound recording or print or old film footage or whatever. The idea is that if somebody is looking for information on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, so this portal should be able to guide you that, okay, there are X number of records, official records in the National Archives of India. There are private papers in various different archives. There's a sound recording which is available in the AIR archives. There's a film footage which is available in the film division, and so on and so forth. So one nation, one portal is our ambition. We are working towards it. And this directory, I think, would be a great facilitator. Thank you very much.
It is indeed a matter of privilege and pride to present this important publication of mapping of archives in India, which was brought by IGNCA in collaboration with the UNESCO. And as Professor Ramesh Chandra Gaur has already elaborated, that this entire project started in 2019, and after that in 2020 came the COVID, which sort of brought down the speed of the survey which we were supposed to do. Still, despite COVID, we continued our efforts, and that is why this book is here in front of you. This is an important publication, as we all know that the awareness related to archives in India is very limited. I'll only give you one good instance which I have been telling in different deliberations wherever I go. When we were there in the lockdown period, home stuck, everyone was curious when the malls will open, when the hotels will open, when the cinema halls will open. But nobody ever asked when the libraries would open, when the museums would open, when the archives would open. So that is the kind of zeal or eagerness to see these institutions in the society. And even after COVID, everybody was sort of very distressed to see the condition of a mall or a cinema theater. But nobody ever discussed and thought about the condition of COVID, condition of the archives or the libraries or the museums after the COVID. Definitely, they also suffered a great deal. Another important aspect is that basically we Bharati people are not the people who are having the archival bent at the outset. We are always people who believe in the present tense and live the life wherever it is and however it is. So that is why most of the important things, even of the previous era, have never been documented. And today the crisis of narrative which we are facing only is because of this, that we have never been very cautious in documenting the things or archiving the things. That is why even today people ask you about the proof or the facts and figures about the happening of Ramayana or happening of Mahabharata or existence of Vedic Kal or all those things. And that is the case why Chinese civilization is often thought to be an advanced civilization as compared to India, because we are not in a position to produce the relevant documents in front of them. So this is the condition from where we started doing the archival things in India. And the awareness has been very limited as far as the academic discourse is concerned. I don't know how many of the students who really did their research work in different institutions have ever gone to any institution or any archive or any museum to refer their research or refer their doctoral work. This is the condition from where we started doing the mapping of these archives. Some of the archives which Sri Sanjay Garg mentioned about, I had a chance to visit, especially the archive of Natnagar Sansthan in Sitamo, which is very rarely known archive, but very, very nicely kept library and archive. One must go and see how a private effort can bring out the esteem of the entire profession of archival studies. More so, the awareness among the student has been very limited. There are very less students who are really inspired to adopt the profession of archiving in India. That is another problem. Because we all are so publicity stuck and want to have a job which is a forefront job, which gives you a fame and recognition very fast, do not tend to opt for a profession like archiving or conservation, which is more or less a backseat kind of a profession where you are not getting the kind of fame and recognition as fast as possible. But full credit goes to the archivist and the conservationist who have conserved the important documents, and that is why we are today exposed to important documents like Srimad Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata or the Ramayana text. So can we give them a round of applause who are at the backstage, people who have worked day and night and gave their wholehearted dedication and devotion for this profession, because of which today we can boast on our textual tradition and important documents which are available in our history. This effort which IGNCA has tried to do under the guidance of Professor Ramesh Gaur is only to highlight the need of doing some more efforts like this. I know this is not a complete document because of the limitations we could not complete the document. Despite our best efforts, we could not gather information from all the archives available in the country. But it was not the intention. We desperately wanted to have every information compiled in this. In fact, we are also in process of compiling the information related to museums in India. I see my colleague Shri Birendra Bangru sitting here, who has done a remarkable work on his own in documenting the museums in India, and we documented almost more than 150 museums and tried to bring out a status paper on the conditions of museums in India, which is again a very astonishing sort of a document which gives an in-depth record of the condition of museums in India. So we are trying to bring out this information only to sort of underline the need to do some more efforts like this, and we are really happy that we have been supported by the UNESCO in this endeavor, and UNESCO has been very kind enough to give us all freedom in doing this work. I'm also happy to sort of present before you the catalogue of Aagam Tantra Mantr, because this catalogue is again a very important document. As we know, it runs into thousands of pages, and that is why we have brought this catalogue in a pen drive format, which is a more popular format in today's scenario. Some more volumes are going to come in due course of time, and I must congratulate my team who has done a great effort in bringing out this catalogue in a record time.
It is always a pleasure for UNESCO to come to IGNCA, firstly because IGNCA is a long-standing partner of UNESCO, New Delhi, but not just the office, also UNESCO as a global organization. And we were very happy to join forces in producing this directory on mapping of archives in India. We've heard that this work has taken a few years. Although COVID came and COVID went, there was no break in the work that was put in by Professor Gaur, Mr. Basu and their team at IGNCA. And for this, we want to thank them heartily. Since ages, archives and archival agencies have played a vital role in the lives of people and society at large in managing the rich history of mankind. The process and history of archiving probably differs from country to country, and we have already heard that this is probably very true in India as well, because India is a country with a very special and peculiar history of the evolution of its archives. This history is underpinned by a knowledge culture, which is also captured in these archives. So why is UNESCO interested in a director of archives in India? Let me first say that UNESCO as an organization globally, especially those who are in headquarters who are not familiar with the landscape, archival landscape here in the country, would not believe that we have got less than 500 active institutional archives in this country. They will probably think and argue that there are a lot more that have not been accounted for. Because everywhere in the world, we see India as a dynamic and a vibrant amalgamation of various cultures, where different streams of ethnicities have trickled into a formation of diverse socio-economical milieu and melting point of cultures that inevitably must have a record or must have been documented by somebody somewhere. The world is interested in the diversity of cultures that is an imprint throughout the length and breadth of India. That is why we are interested, therefore, in knowing as much as possible about archival practice, professionalism, institutionalization of this profession in the country. Not only for the benefit of those who are interested in this country, but for the world at large. This publication, therefore, offers us this opportunity to peep into the kaleidoscope of this diversity that the world is searching for. Archives are generally understood as institutional repositories of documents, manuscripts, and papers. We have heard that archives are indeed the repository of knowledge. UNESCO ascribes high importance to archives as memory institutions that play a key role in the Memory of the World program. We've heard about it as well, and we hope that there will be greater participation by archives, institutional archives, in this program in the country. There's also great interest within UNESCO to know about specialized archiving practices. For instance, the archiving of computer program or computer software or code, computer code, is one area of interest that has been expressed by UNESCO regarding what is on the ground or what is prevailing in India. The purpose of this project is to improve academic and research-related activities, as I said, nationally, but also globally, by creating a near encyclopedic picture of active archives and their collections. It will further help researchers, scholars, and history lovers for creating awareness about different source materials preserved in the archives across the country. Furthermore, it will provide plausible solutions where these are needed for the conservation and preservation of archival material in the country. We hope you will enjoy reading the book, reading the directory, and using it as a reference for your future work. We thank you very much.
Digital edition of this book is brought out. I would request Professor Gaur to consider to make the information a little more detailed and more granular. Here in most of the places, more logistical information has been given than actually the information regarding the collection. What would be of interest to people that if I go to Raja Rampur Library or I go to Deccan College Pune Library or some library in Ahmedabad or some library in Chennai, what is it there that I am likely to find? If I am doing studies on numismatics, if I am doing some research on the medieval Indian history or ancient Indian history, I am studying script, then where do I go? Which library would have that? So if the details given in the case of each of the archives could be elaborated a little more, that would be of a much greater help. I think that the IGNCA or Government of India's institutions, state government departments of culture should be probably, mentoring local archives, both state and private, public and private, and improve their record keeping, cataloging, digitization, because without state help, it is impossible that this can ever be done. This is something which is a very, very important, useful initiative which somebody would have taken, and it is good that IGNCA, our most premier institution devoted to India's past and its ancient legacy, has taken this responsibility. And I congratulate Professor Gaur, a very highly trained librarian with a great training in archival knowledge, to have done this under the patronage of his chairman and member secretary. I congratulate him. I wish that this book is used by people, researchers, and they find it useful. And I again request him that if he brings out a further edition of this book to probably to enlarge its scope. Thank you so much.
हम बहुत प्रशंसनीय कार्य है, क्योंकि सुबह और जिस दिन रमेश गौड़ जी ने ये किताब मुझे दी थी, उस दिन भी हमने इसको पलट करके देखा। आज भी मैंने थोड़ा समय इस पर लगाया पढ़ने के लिए, और मैंने पाया कि इसमें आखिर में बहुत अच्छी सूचनाएं हैं। जो परिशिष्ट है, आर्टिकल है, परिशिष्ट में तो यूनेस्को है। शुरू में डॉक्टर सच्चिदानंद जोशी जी ने इसका फॉरवर्ड लिखा है, और उसमें भी इन्होंने जो बातें लिखी हैं वो जैसे 1891 में हमारे यहाँ इसकी शुरुआत हुई। जो आर्काइवल मटेरियल जहाँ भी उपलब्ध है उसको खोजना, उसको पढ़ना, ये बहुत साधारण काम नहीं है। मैं अपने अनुभव से कह सकता हूँ, अभी शुरुआत है कि कहाँ पर कैसे आर्काइव हैं इसकी इस पुस्तक में जानकारी है, लेकिन इसका एक दूसरा पक्ष भी है। और दूसरा पक्ष क्या है? ये सरकारी नियंत्रण में सब आर्काइव हैं, तो मान लेते हैं कि ये हमको उपलब्ध हो सकते हैं।